Freedom Caucus, an ultra-conservative alliance in the Texas House of Representatives, killed more than 100 bills on Friday. It was done in retaliation for what they call unfair treatment by the House leadership after some of their own bills were knocked off the agenda. Here to discuss the move, GOP consultant Edward Getterman. Ed, how are you doing?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me.
Do you support this tactic of you kill a bill, I kill a bill, when it affects so many pieces of legislation?
No, I don't. I think it's really immature, honestly. I think they took down a lot of solid legislation. For instance, the thing we need more than anything in Texas is property tax reform. Texans all over the state are suffering under an onerous property tax system, and one of the bills that they killed when they decided to take their ball and go home, so to speak, was a property tax reform bill. So it's really unfortunate. I don't think they've learned the lessons they should have learned from their big brothers in the United States House of Representatives in that Freedom Caucus. So I hope we're able to come to some agreement, and move some of these bills forward that unfortunately were left for dead.
Well, and that was sort of my next question is, these bills that were killed, is there any chance, property tax, for example, is there any chance these things can come back to life in this session, or is it done?
Not in this session. The Texas Constitution says that once the legislative calendar reaches 122 days, any legislation that hasn't progressed to a certain point automatically dies. And so that's what happened the other night. And there's a second round of this kind of thing that happens on the 134th day of a legislature, which is coming up. So some more legislation will probably die then. The only hope for a lot of this stuff is that it gets included in a now inevitable special session. The problem is going to be, so many pieces of legislation that so many people wanted to see pass were left for dead that it's going to be hard to fit them all into a special session.
If there is, you said, inevitable special session. If there is a special session, the rift that would seem to be existing between this Freedom Caucus and the other Republicans in the House, can that be mended, fixed? Where does that stand?
It's just going to depend on if they're willing to meet in the middle. I think what we need more than anything right now is leadership to be shown from the big three: Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, and Speaker Strauss. These three guys who are the head of our state, the heads of our state, need to step up and broker some sort of agreement, an agreement here. And the reality is, the members of this Freedom Caucus, and I say this speaking as a lifelong Republican, these guys are the minority of the majority. They're the extreme minority of the majority, and they have decided to throw a wrench in the works because they don't like how they're being treated. They don't think they're being treated fairly, and nowhere is it written that you are entitled to be treated fairly. So, I hope these guys grow up, and I hope they realize the damage they're doing here with these tactics of theirs.
So, do they have any cause for doing what they did?
I mean, they'll say they did, certainly. There are pictures of a lot of these guys on the floor the other night celebrating. I think they think that their constituents want to see them be loud and obstructionist. That's the message they've gotten from their constituents. I question their political wisdom if that's the message they really do believe they're getting. Of course they did it because they think they have a reason to do it. Everybody else that's not in the Texas Freedom Caucus thinks they're clowns, but, time will tell. They're certainly not getting anything for it. As I say, more than anything, if you were to ask the average Texan, would you rather have property tax reform, or would you rather have these guys kill property tax reform and say that, look, the quote-unquote real conservatives won the day? Every single Texan, 10 out of 10, would rather have property tax reform.
Okay, all right. Well, so it goes in the state legislature. And we got to wrap it up, so we appreciate you coming by.
Thanks, Mike.